Yeah, but what about my Jewish friends and my Buddhist and Muslim friends, Hindu friends? How can they go to hell? They're not even baptized. Now listen up to this. If a person has not heard about Jesus Christ, and there may be people in the Amazon, there may be people in Afghanistan, there may be people in the middle of Africa someplace that's never heard of Jesus Christ. They've never seen a missionary in their whole life. Now listen, we believe that God speaks to those people in the inner sanctum of their heart. We believe that God reveals to them the truth in their conscience. These people know that stealing is wrong. They know that lying is wrong. They don't know maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But they do know basically the 10 Commandments. And it's our teaching that if these people follow their conscience and with the grace of God do the best they can with what they've got, listening to the light of God, that God at some time in their life will shine the light of faith upon them. And if they embrace that light, they are justified. And that's called a baptism of desire. Somewhat like Abraham in the Old Testament, even before Jesus came on the scene. Abraham did God's will even to the point of being willing to sacrifice his own son. And St. Paul says that that was attributed to him unto justification. So that the people of the Old Testament justified in their faith in God. And so we believe that good people who have never heard of Jesus Christ, that if they follow their conscience, God will light them up or give them the light. And if they choose to accept it, they be justified. And in that acceptance of the light of faith, they are linked to the Holy Catholic Church and to the blood of Christ, even though they don't even know it. Now, what do you think of that teaching? It's a beautiful teaching. That's why we never throw that away. Now, we don't know how many Jews and how many Muslims and how many Hindus and how many Buddhists actually make that act of faith. That's a mystery between God and the individual soul. We don't know that. But should they make that act of faith, by that they are justified and they're joined to the one church and to the blood of Christ. And some of those poor people maybe have been turned off on Christianity because of the way Christians have lived their life. Christian countries have gone over to these countries and they've milked them dry of their raw materials. And they said, who wants to be a Christian when they do that kind of stuff? I remember one night in Karachi. That's a seaport city in Pakistan. And it was back in the 60s. And we were bringing American movies over there, you know, and people used to love them. They were in English, and it was great. But up there on the street, not far from my church, there was a movie house, and it had this unclad woman up there advertising this movie. And this Muslim came up to me one night, and I had my cassock on. And, yeah, you Christians, you people, bring this filth into my country. Well, do you think he's going to become a Christian? He figures we're polluting his country with this filth. And I'm a Christian priest, a Westerner. And so some of the things that we do turn these people off. So they're not denying Christ, they're denying a false Christ that's being perpetrated on them really by Christians that are not really living their faith. And so they don't know the true Christ. And the Christ they're denying is not the real Christ. So we never judge these people. They may already be justified by that act of faith that they've made. Now, we hope that all of these people, too, will come into the fullness of the Holy Catholic faith. Yes, they are linked to it, somewhat like your wallet is linked inside. You know, it's goes with you everywhere you go. Well, that's kind of like those people. They're linked to the church. They're not joined to the church, but they're linked to the church, like your wallet. And they go wherever the church goes, and in that they can be justified. Now, you may think I'm making all this up, you know, as I go along. Well, I'm not. As the church prays, it believes. Now, I'll just read Eucharistic prayer number 3. Eucharistic prayer number 3. Father, hear the prayers of the family you have gathered here before you. In mercy and love, unite all your children wherever they may be. Wherever they may be. Welcome into your kingdom our departed brothers and sisters and all who have left this world in your friendship. You see, the brothers and sisters would be the Christians. But then it goes on and says, and all who have left this world in your friendship. Now it comes out a little bit more clear, or more clearly, in the 4th Eucharistic prayer that's said at Mass. It's very interesting. You might keep your ears open in the Mass here when the priest says this one. Remember those who take part in this offering, those there that are present kind of in the church. Remember those who take part in this offering, those here present, and all your people. You see, they would be all the, I guess, the Christians, all your people, and all who seek you with a sincere heart. And all who seek you with a sincere heart. And then it goes on and says, remember those who have died in the peace of Christ, Christians, and all the dead whose faith is known to you alone. So we're not making this up at all. This is the teaching of the church. It's always been, and the Vatican Council brings it out very beautiful, the Second Vatican Council. So we have a very liberal teaching. And we can defend this teaching. We're not narrow-minded in this question. Yes, there is only one church. And in order to be saved, we must either be joined to it fully, or we must be at least joined to it, or we must be linked to it. And sometimes we don't know the people that are linked to it. Now, another thing, too, we don't say because we're in the fullness of the church that we're all going to go to heaven. You know, we can get very proud. Like in the gospel on Sunday, John the Baptist was blasting away at the Pharisees. He says, you people, you know, think that because you're members of Abraham's people, that you got heaven locked up. John the Baptist says God can raise children of Abraham from these stones. So don't be thinking because you're a Jew that you're going to go to heaven and be saved. It's very clear, I think, in the Gospel Sunday. And just because we're Catholics does not mean that we're going to go to heaven because of that. Yes, we have been given the fullness of the Holy Faith. And to whom much has been given, much will be required. Yes, we should be saints. We have been given the full teaching of Christ. We have it totally. Our non-Catholic friends don't have the whole picture. But sometimes, even with the little they have, they outshine us by their holiness. So just because we're Catholics doesn't mean that we've got heaven wrapped up. As a matter of fact, you may have heard this, that St. John Chrysostom, a great father of the, he was an archbishop and a great teacher in the Eastern Church, he said the floor of hell is strewn with the bones of bishops. So, if that's what happens to bishops, you can imagine what's going to happen to the priest.